Go live to Ottawa now, where NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh is speaking ahead of question period.
Foreign interference is, how are these families going to be safe and know that they're safe when we don't even know the extent of the interference? So I'm deeply concerned about that. I'm concerned about the impact on Canadians on a broader sense if a member of parliament can be targeted this way. Donc, aujourd'hui, je vais poser une question au gouvernement pour cibler le fait que si une députée
to target the fact that if a member of this parliament can be targeted by a foreign government, what is the situation for many other Canadians? Canadians who have fled repressive governments and Canadians who are still being threatened by these governments. We know this is something that goes on, for example, in the Iranian community, in the Chinese community, and in the Indian community. This is something that happens. If the government is not willing to trigger a public inquiry, how are they going to protect these communities? How are they to understand the scope of the problem? We will be asking that question because we are really concerned about this threat. What kind of economic retaliation do you fear by China? Do you think it could go beyond expulsion of Ms. Lalonde? This was an expected consequence. But there is no doubt that if a foreign diplomat threatens an MP like that, then there needs to be repercussions. This is something that was anticipated. What exactly the consequences will be remains to be seen, and we need to be ready to respond to those as well. According to your MPs, some of them represent ridings of farmers or do business with China. Do you think that that decision should be reversed, or is it going to harm these ridings in some way? Yes, of course, we do have economic ties, and that's a debate for many sectors across the country because we do have trade with them, and that is one aspect. Perhaps some diplomatic relations might see other consequences. That is a concern, but at this time it is necessary to demonstrate that we will not accept this kind of interference. This is something we need to accept as a consequence and be willing to respond. It often happens that members of ethnocultural communities are intimidated either by China or India. Are you saying then that there should be more expulsions of diplomats? That Ottawa should be doing this more broadly? Is that what you're saying? What I'm saying is that the answer we need right now is a public inquiry. To better determine the scope of this problem, it is through a public inquiry that is independent and transparent that will give Canadians greater confidence. It's a problem, and we've seen the real impacts on the lives of people. And it continues to be more and more of an issue. We've seen what happened with an MP in this House. And if an MP can be targeted like that, imagine what the reality is for many Canadians. It is a concern, and I think that the only response or the first step is to have a public inquiry to actually determine the scope of the problem. With Bill C-21, why are you supporting the Liberals with their motion? And it's going to shorten debate time on C-21, both at committee and at the third reading. I think it's an important bill. It's going to protect the community, and we don't want to give the Conservatives more time to play political games. We want a bill that works, and we want to do that quickly. We've had a lot of debate. We know the position of all parties, and now it's time to move forward.
The government, who are the other MPs who were targeted by the government of China? Is that something that you'd like to see disclosed?
Yes, and it's something we asked in question period. We asked who else has been targeted by foreign interference, what other MPs have been targeted, not just by China, but by other governments as well. Are there people that are being targeted by other governments in a way that CSIS is aware of or the government's aware of? These are legitimate questions. And then we broaden that out. Not only are potentially other members of parliament being targeted, but we know many Canadians are being targeted, and what's being done to make sure that those Canadians are safe. Imagine the real fear that Canadians must have that have left repressive countries to find a new home in Canada, to be safe and secure, only to have those same threats follow them. And one of the other major examples, because of the recent protests, is the Iranian community. We know they are very much being targeted. I've heard from my own constituents about targeting that happens of themselves and their family members. So this is a real concern, and we do want to know the impact on members of parliament, but also what can be done to protect Canadians at large.
Thank you so much.
Merci. Thank you. Merci.